Hello and welcome to Dash28 Live. I'm your host, Mike Adkins, and joining me here today is John Quayle. And we are going to be talking about some updates that were just released for the desktop and browser versions of Universal Battle 2. Obviously, we do a lot of Universal Battle 2 Kings of War streaming on this channel. And so there's a lot of conventions that we've come up with to get the most out of UB when playing Kings of War in the most effective way possible. And the developer has apparently listened to a lot of our feedback and implemented a lot of very nice to have, like streamlining, ease of use type features that seem very well suited and very well targeted towards the Kings of War community. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of test drive some of them, to show you guys some of the new ways to use these new tools and help people, the first time you play, so you don't have to hunt around quite so much, and you can just kind of jump right in and start building some new muscle memory on the most efficient way to play Kings of War in UB2. So, John.
Yeah, I mean, there's already a couple of videos out there specified more on other games, so I think something that focuses on Kings of War would be beneficial for our viewers. I'd also find it beneficial. I think in the process of trying to develop this, we're just looking at all the different changes and what impact it's going to have on the game. And a little bit of basically came out every time we came up with something new. So yeah, I mean, I have to say it's a big shout out to Lorenzo who runs UB. He's not just taken all our money from all the lockdown subscriptions he's managed to garner. He's actually spent a lot of time talking to us. I mean, the Discord is out there. He's active on Facebook channels as well, and he's taken a lot of the feedback that he's got and implemented so many changes. It really has been a quality of life upgrade, I think, on what UB was before. I mean, that's right, isn't it, Mike? I mean, we've just played around in the last half an hour and just gone, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Right. Or, oh, geez, this used to work this way, and that way doesn't work anymore. Can I figure out how to do it? And then you do, and you're like, oh, that's actually way better. Oh, that's way easier. Oh my God, I can't believe I've been doing it the other way for so long. Yeah. So, shall we just jump in and start moving things around?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do? We're just gonna run a quick game, aren't we? Just run through how you'd normally set up a game, and then while doing so, hopefully we'll just introduce all the bits, all of the bits.
All of the bits.
I'm not sure if we will, but we'll try our best. So let's start as a blank. I guess setup. I mean, we're gonna play a simple scenario. We're not gonna play kill. We don't play kill, right? We have to play something else. I mean, invade is at least better than kill, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Invade is good. I like invade. It's straightforward. So this is the blank slate that you would normally start with, and in the previous version of UB, everybody would have several saved games worth of, like, here's my army, and here's all of the widgets I use. So now that we have this new version, like, what changes about this part of the game, the setup phase?
I've got to stop you being a spectator, haven't I, Mike? You've got to be allowed to play.
Yep.
Right.
Still gotta have that. Yeah.
You're still gonna have that. We got to go through it thoroughly. That's what we're going to do, Mike. So let's start with the safe side. So probably a good idea is load up an army that you've already got set up. And there's a completely new way of doing that, isn't there?
Yeah, and now it looks like a download button. It's down here in the corner. I think it used to look like a disk before, if I'm remembering correctly, but now it's down here. And you get a dialogue that looks pretty familiar. It shows all of your, I guess, online saved games or loaded games. But now you can save or load things as files on your local machine in a place that you want them. Because I guess previously it would save them in some application folder or someplace that was a little hard to find. But now you can just get them and load them from wherever you want, like right on your desktop. Or, if you want to make folders for, like, each different army you play and all the different lists you have, like, that might make it a little easier to find or manage those things.
Well, before you load it, Mike, don't forget what we want to do is strip user ID. So another thing that came up with these changes is we're now able to load it, any army that you are loading, so both players can use them, which is, I think, closer to reality than it's ever been. How frustrating it has been asking you, like, could you just move your unit just slightly back, just so I can see where the angles are?
Right. And yeah, so now you can check that. And I guess does that impact how people do play by email games as well?
Yes, play by email has been very tricky. We've been very reliant on having somebody we can trust to share an actual a single account with, and being able to load individual files and send them to each other means you can do that over two different accounts and play the game almost normally. I think, with a few little tweaks, which is great. Which just opens up avenues for those people who haven't got much time, or can just Skype at work. One of the two.
I know. Does not seem to have worked. Let me try that again. That's weird. I just opened this list. Yes. So let me try again.
You've probably broken it, Mike. That's what you've done.
I've probably broken it. Or it doesn't like that I'm trying to strip user ID. Yeah, so but there it goes. Okay. Yep, just a little fail the first time. Yeah, so with the tag stripped like that means that now you can move around my units if you want to.
Yes.
So like you're saying, if we're playing by email, like you can move the whole table around.
So you can drag my units, can't you? I think, can you select my units and drag them? There you go.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit molested. I feel right when you do that. So let's load up a map then. Go on, let's load up a map. So we've got what do you normally use? Use the Epic Dwarf maps, Mike?
Usually I use whatever the TO is using for the tournament we're playing. So either the maps they've provided or the Epic Dwarf maps. Yeah, one or the other.
So click on the old map function then, or use the hotkey M.
Or use the hotkey M. That's right.
So let's load up an Epic Dwarf map and I don't know,
Sure.
make it 10 for fun. I think you have to type in Epic Dwarf. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
I found it.
there you go. So bang, let's load that in. Now, on the map function as well, there are 2 extra features, aren't there?
There are. Yeah, we should definitely talk about those. So there is the grid, which is right here, which you can turn on, and it toggles the grid on. So I guess these are little 1-inch squares.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. If you want it, you can toggle it on, leave it on, or turn it back off. And that makes it very easy to find the deployment zones, I guess, because you just have to count 12 squares from either edge.
Yeah.
And then you can mark the deployment zones.
It's worth noting that only you can see them, so you have to toggle it on yourself when you do this. So your opponent won't be aware of it.
Okay.
But yes, you could just mark the 12-inch line and just roughly counting something like that.
You could. And the other, this is the rotate table 180 degrees. So
yes. So you can always be at the bottom if you want to, right? Having seen some of the other life changes that we've seen on here, I don't think that's going to be necessary that much. What do you reckon, Mike?
I don't know. Some people like always being at the bottom, and I guess if you always like to feel like you're moving up the table all the time, then yeah, that's an easy way to do it. It might get a little confusing.
Yeah,
moving up in the world. It might get a little confusing if we're like live streaming your game because we refer to like you're on the top of the table, this guy's on the bottom, and we talk about things in those terms. So if you're trying to have a conversation with people about what's happening in the game, that might make it a little confusing because but it does make it a little more true to life because you're always if the bottom of the table is always how you're that's kind of where you stand when you're playing the game live. You're looking forward, so it might make it feel a little more realistic. Like always being on the bottom of the table is really like standing at the table to some people.
Yeah. It's not quite the same effect though. I always recommend when you're actually in real life to go and look around the other side of the table because the world doesn't look as bad when you do that. Sometimes you go around and go, I've got loads of forces on this side. It's great.
That might be an interesting thing for people to do mid-game then when they're trying to decide what to do. Like, hey, let me flip the table around and see what it looks like the other way while he's moving, and then flip it back on your turn or something like that.
So let's flip the grid on, but then not flip the table, so we'll get confused. That'll be bad.
Yep.
Usually, what I do now is I load in like a save deployment. So I'm going to load in my save deployment. Now, it's slightly tweaked for the new one already, but that's not going to be a big problem. So, bang, there we go. Now,
all the widgets,
the dominate circle, And I have to move my units out of the way. And you might have to zoom in there now because of all the you've got the
across
sectors. Remember, we coined the sectors term, right?
That's right.
It.
That's right.
You've got to have surely got to have a little tab here in Dash28 for sectors. But having said that, because of all the new innovations, some of the stuff we don't need. So all these little Bane, Chant, and Hindered, and Wavered, and stuff like that are nice to have, but we don't need them. Get out of the way. So let's first up turn off the pen because it looks stupid. Let's get rid of those. Plus all of these damage markers over here, which are lovely. And I spent a while putting those all together and typing all them in. Not needed. Let's get rid of them. Bong, gone. So it declutters a lot of the tabletop immediately, which is great. But we'll get into how to use those in a minute. So we're going to play. Do you play Invade or do you play Dominate? Since I've got the big circle in the middle anyway.
You do have the big circle in the middle. Yeah, let's go ahead and play Dominate. Why not?
We'll play Dominate. I like it. Right. So, which side do we want? Are we going to roll to see who gets which side? Go on.
I think we should.
On stream rolling.
Tie.
No. Yes. Oh my God, then. You always
I
bottom,
will.
Don't you?
I normally like bottom, but now we're playing Dominate. I don't like that. There's a big piece of impassable terrain in the middle of the top. So I guess I do want the bottom, but that doesn't give me the opportunity to show off rotating your whole army all the way around easily.
Well, you can rotate my army for me. How about that?
There's
like that, Mike. Yeah.
There's a good point. Right. So here's a fun thing that you can do now. You can select whole armies. You can do that before. And normally you would select the army and then try to drag over and over again until you get it turned all the way around. Well, now we pop over here. One thing very important, underneath the gear, the settings tab, there is a list of all of the keyboard hotkey shortcuts. And one of them on table down here towards the bottom is rotate 45 degrees. And that's rotate plus shift. And so what that means is when you have something highlighted and you're going to rotate it, if you only want to rotate it in increments of 45 degrees, you just hold down shift and then move to rotate. And it will only rotate to 45 degrees and lock. So instead of, turning a little bit and then turning a little bit and turning a little bit, you can just do it like that. And you know that you've turned it a full 180 and that's all.
I've got a full-on endorphin release after that. I don't know what it is. I am just slightly inebriated over how much I enjoyed that for some weird reason. But anyway, carry on.
Very handy. And so so you've clearly marked out my deployment zone for me. I can see where the little chevrons are, and they're right along the grid line there. So I can easily see where that is.
We can use the pen for that, can't we? If you really wanted to, so you don't have to bother with these chevrons if you don't want to. But
you just kind of draw.
How steady is your hand, Mike? How steady is your hand?
My hand? I'm going to leave the grid on, so I've marked a line so I can tell which one is the 12-inch line. So that's easy enough. Then I turned the pen off, and now let's go ahead and I'll move
deploy some units down. Go on, one by one. You go first. Whack something down.
There we go.
I don't want to see any cheating in there.
What's going on here? Yeah, so we're playing. So there you go. There's a horde of revenants.
Oh, come on. All right, we go for Dominate. Where do you think I'm going to put all my stuff? It's all going to go in the middle.
Geez. I wonder if you're going to put stuff in the middle. Jeez. All right.
So I say the grid is something which you can turn on and off. I said there's a few things that only opponents can see. Probably a good thing as well to point out while we're doing this is that you can select units, can't you, as you go along, and actually put on their arcs. So you can see as you're moving where particular units will be going.
And these are persistent arcs that stay on for each individual unit. The full set of arcs for the selected unit is still available with all the different lines and inch per inch measurements. But as soon as you click somewhere else, that goes away. Now you have a couple of options for things to leave on, like a 12-inch circle around a unit, or 24-inch end corners, or wheeling, which we don't really do in Kings of War, but that's another option. And then when you select off of it, those things stay. So you still got a 12-inch range, and you've still got the corners, and you still have, I believe, the leader point sticking right off the unit there, which is nice. And you can turn those off and on again per individual units. You can turn them on for one unit, turn it on for 2 or 3 units to see where their arcs overlap, and then go back. Another cool thing that we haven't showed yet is that you can turn on the names of all the units. If you don't know how your opponent is deployed or what they've deployed already, you can flip on all the names and see, like, all right, he's dropped some scarecrows and some butchers and some butchers. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to catch up. Another fun thing with the grid on, some people will deploy things with a plan in mind of, like, I'm going to drop this here, and my plan is later to come back and drop another unit in between these two units. And some folks can eyeball that really easily, and some other folks will accidentally deploy things too close together and then not have space to put whatever they wanted to put in between them when they're done. And now with the grid on, you can just, if you know how wide the unit is, you can just kind of eyeball it and say, like, okay, I need an inch between these three. I need 5 inches to put this other unit here, and see how you're doing there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you could, while you're deploying, like, put the unit down and go, it does fit, but that gives away the game. Yeah. You want to be, a little bit, like, surreptitious with it,
Yep. And another fun thing that just popped up there that I want to point out is now you can select a unit, and if you put your mouse over another unit and just leave it there, it will automatically tell you how far those two units are apart.
Yes, which is great, especially for, like, those horrible artillery players, who we should not speak of because they're scum. But they obviously go over the 24-inch marker. Plus, also, I mean, my Mind Screeches, for example. I mean, a good example is a Mind Screech. So if you have a Mind Screech and you go, well, I've got an effective range of 30 because I can move forward 6 and shoot. So you can now go, right, well, I can select units and go, they're going to be in range for my first turn. Those guys are going to be in range for my first turn. Those guys are not. So, although it's still, you've got to give and take with the fact you have to turn and use the leader point, but it's still damn sight better than it was. Another little tweak that makes a massive difference.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you pretty much set up over there, Madkins?
I am.
Okay. So, I guess we should dice off to see who gets to go first.
We should. Well, I don't have any scouts. You don't have any scouts. So, yeah.
I haven't purchased any scouts. Can I just scout my army anyway? Is that allowed?
No.
Oh, okay. If you don't ask, you don't get. Somehow we've managed to get out of 6 dice rolls 5 2s. Hashtag UB dice. Probably a good idea now. Yeah, there you go. Hashtag UB dice. Can you ever complain that your dice rolls are bad anymore? No, because the proof is here.
Well, I think I can complain because I've so far rolled nothing but 1s, 2s, and 3s. And here's the proof right here. Of course, you haven't done much better. You've rolled a 4 once.
I've been consistent because I've basically got 75% 2s.
Right. Leaning heavily on 2s. Yeah. Cool.
I will be taking first turn then. I will start to move the troops down.
No, you won't. Hold on. You're forgetting something. And that is that we are playing on the clock.
Oh, do we have to play on the clock? Okay.
Yeah, we totally have to play on the clock. Totally. Under the tools menu, hotkey T, or it's this icon down here. You bring that up, and under various, there's 2 very handy things here. The first one is a clock, and the second one is just a random note that you can drop on the table, and we'll show you how to use those.
Just while you're doing that as well, Mike, make sure that you point out the same thing that you've only realized today, and I only realized a few weeks ago, but has been around for a long time. You can pin the toolbar.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So now it stays. So now let's bring up another clock. Oh, but the toolbar's still there. Okay, great.
Bring one of the probably a good idea. Bring one of the ABC things in. That's probably a good idea.
Let's drop some X's for fun, and look how we don't have to keep reopening the tool menu every time. Let's drop a note. Yeah, because the notes are very useful. So John previously had a whole bunch of little tokens over here that said things like wavered and bane chanted, and now you can just kind of make those things as needed. So you select it, hit the information button, and just type bane chant.
You probably want to put hex in there as my. I was going to hex you. I'm just going to hex.
Oh, you're going to hex me? Okay, that's cool.
I'll do that in a minute. I'll make my own.
Well, let me just change that bane chant to hex then.
Hey, let's just count as cast. Okay. And the clocks work so you're putting a clock per person, don't you? Because essentially it's just a count up. So you can press play.
Press play on, so that's your side over there. Cool. So that's your clock on that side, and my clock's on this side. Yours is now ticking up.
I'm going up here. I'm going here.
That makes sense.
Right. So I'm now first turn. Okay, right. So
right. And so here I'm like, oh crap, I don't know how you deploy it. Here, let me hit this button up top with the little tags, and I can see the names of all of his units while he's starting to move. I don't have to ask or think. So I can see like, okay, he's got a Banshee with Banshee Course with the Zephyr Crown. He's got Phantom Troops and Soul Flayers over there. He put his Scarecrows, his Butcher Flesh Ripper, and a bunch of Butchers and stuff in the middle. Mind Screeches, more Butchers, Soul Flayers, Phantom Troop. Cool. I don't have to click each individual unit. I just at a glance I can see all of his stuff.
Do you know what's really funny?
What's that?
Is that only now I've realised there's a bloody big building in the middle of that deployment zone. That dominate circle. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, there's a building there. Right. Okay. Let's do that. Probably a good idea to explain as well that there is now the zoom in function. You can still select multiple units.
Yeah. That changes things a bit. Which on my turn, maybe I'll try to do some fun stuff with that.
But it also leads to another issue, isn't it? That you're not, once you zoom in, you can't naturally scroll the board. So once you do, you have to press Shift to be able to scroll the board, which again is something I only realized 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. I can't remember if this is how this worked before or not, but currently when you zoom in, it zooms in on wherever the cursor currently is. So if I have the cursor here in the middle, it'll zoom in on the middle. If I zoom out and then I move my cursor down here, it will zoom in kind of centered on where the cursor is. And if you zoom all the way in, as John was saying, now you can select multiple things when you're zoomed in, but that means you can't drag the table around by default. But if you hold Shift, then you can drag the table around. Or if you have a middle mouse button, clicking and holding the middle mouse button will also allow you to drag the map around when you're zoomed in, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit different, but playing around with it for the few minutes since we've noticed it, we kind of like it.
Okay. All right. So let's do. Let's do. I'm going to hex you. The little Trickster's Wand that I have on the. You probably want to put a name on, but it's the Trickster's Wand on the Butcher Flesh Ripper.
Yep, see it right there in the middle.
So I am going to hex. Anybody got any spells? Is that little like pesky
undead spells
on horse?
No, of course not.
He's done some spells, hasn't he? Let's hex him. Let's hex him. He's hexed.
Okay, he is hexed. Good
scumbag. Good job. And then
not be able to cast
some mind screeches. I've got some mind screeches. So let's use those. And let's target those pesky zombies for fun.
All right.
I'm not going to go.
Do you have range? Let's find out. 23.35. Yes.
I think I'm good.
23.38. Yes. I think the chevron's in the way of that one.
Delete the chevron.
Yeah. There. And 23.44. So yeah, you're in range of all three.
Although that doesn't go to the leader point. Doesn't go to the leader point, but that's still the same way as you normally check it. I just click it on the unit, and I think they're all fine. 18 lightning bolt. Stupid zombies.
Yeah. For such a small unit as a Mind Screech, I don't think the leader point matters that much. You were within an inch on all of them. Oh my goodness, you got 11 hits. Look at you go.
11 hits.
And zombies, of course, are wounded on 2, so that's 9. All right, so let's put some wounds on some zombies. Hey, where'd all the wound markers go?
Oh, I've lost them. I deleted those earlier.
Okay, well then I'm just going to hit plus over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. Now I have 9. There it is. Plus key. That's all it takes. Plus, hey, and if I heal them, when I heal them next turn, because you're not going to break them here, I just hit minus to take some wounds off. It's just that simple. I love this. Absolutely love it.
It massive difference, isn't it? I mean, admittedly, like it wasn't too bad once you actually uploaded 50 different counters of various different denominations of 1, 2, and then had to move them every time the unit moves.
Right.
So if you look at the actual
invariably all of the 8s that you made would get taken, and then something else would get 8 wounds, and you'd have to like add another 8 to the table or some shit like that. It was very annoying.
Yes, but then also they move with it, so the unit will move. It'll take its damage with it, and when you spin it, the number will spin as well, so that it will stay on 9. So you're fine. Mm-hmm. The only thing I've noticed a little bit is that when you want to know exactly where the corner of that unit is, it's a little bit tricky. I mean, you can zoom into it and it is opaque, but it's just a little bit tricky.
Sure.
But
if we really want to know where the corners are, then we can just turn on the corners.
You can definitely do that. Yeah.
I think that works.
The only thing it gets a little bit tricky on, and this is going to be maybe the guys who I don't know how it's going to affect the people who don't have subscriptions and stuff, but where you're going to be loading units of multiple models. So maybe load a unit of multiple models and then just show that, because it's going to be because it's slightly different on that.
Just don't do that anymore. We're playing Kings of War. There's no reason to do that. People have made beautiful multi-based things in UB. You should just use
yeah, and admittedly, maybe I shouldn't be placating those people who haven't spent any money on it. But I found in some places it's not necessarily having cash. It's just the cash that they have. And I always wanted to do this, but I think a unit of flying pharaohs is something you should always have in the game. So the only issue is the toggle button, isn't it, on the top bar, where the troop situation has gone now. So you have to, when you're doing damage on these guys, select it so that you can only select one guy.
And then you got to make sure to pick the guy in the bottom corner, because otherwise, if you end up picking some guy in the middle, you'll end up with a wound marker somewhere in the middle of the unit. So
that's not too bad. I guess it's better than the alternative where you go, right, I'm going to just add plus buttons onto it, and all of a sudden extra men start appearing. And you're like, no.
Right. Because it bounces them around someplace. Yeah, very awkward.
So I think that's me. I think that's me done. So if you want to start moving some guys, I'm going to stop my clock. There we go.
And I will start mine. All right. So let's see if I can do this. If I go in here, I
haven't nerve rolled those. Hang on, I haven't nerve rolled your zombies.
You haven't. So
I'm going to do it. You dead?
One more. 7. That would kill them, but I'm not going to take them off the table because I want to do something fun. No, that's fine. I'll delete them.
A good thing to do, though.
I deleted all 3.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Undo.
Undo brings units back. Oh, no more having to reopen and trying to remember where the hell you had them by adding a fresh one if you accidentally multi-select and then delete all your units.
And also, handily, you can redo it as well, so they're all dead. No.
They're still all dead. So yeah, here's something I want to try here. So I've selected 2 units, and now the arrow keys move 1 inch, right?
Yes.
So if you actually want to move your whole line up, which I think in this case I might want to, I can just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I was literally just going to shamble all the zombies up 5 inches anyway. Now instead of grabbing each one of them and trying to drag them and get it just right, I can just hit the arrow key. It's just a straight 1 inch per tap of the key, and they've moved up. So there we go.
Sweet as a
now. I want to try to find a fun place to put my very annoying vampire lord on horse. There's a building in the middle. I really want to get him up there so that he can hide behind the building and be close to you, but you can't see him. And normally in UB, this would be a complete pain in the ass. But here's something fun we can do now is I can select his units, and I can add their corners. And then I can come over here to another unit, and I can also add their corners. And I can just do this for like his entire army if I want to. If I want to see the arcs on every single one of his units everywhere, I can just turn them all on.
Plus, you could also change the length of the corners. So if you really wanted to go in to say, well, are they 20-inch corners because they've got a 20-inch charge? I could do that.
Yep.
And you could even leave them on. So it would also, that horrible realization you've forgotten that guy's got the brew of haste.
Yep.
Damn, he's in charge.
Damn it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this arrow here to mark the position of my unit. So I've marked where the vampire is. So this little arrow now is there. And so I'm just gonna move him. I'm just gonna move him willy-nilly. Just gonna slide him over here. No big deal. And then rotate him 180 degrees by holding down Shift and dragging it down so he moves just 2 clicks there.
Are you trying to do a Page Neo style maneuver? Is that what you're trying to do, Mike?
Possibly. So let's see if this works. So now I want to check line of sight. So I can zoom in over here. I can find the leader point on your unit because now that's there. And by holding Control, I can draw a straight line from any point to wherever I want. So yeah, okay, the vampire's in line of sight of those guys, and he's 16 inches away. They move more than 16, don't they? They move like 19, don't they? 18. Soul Flares.
20, mate. Come on. Right?
20.
You know,
Yeah, they fly. They fly. That's fine. And then
right.
same thing
On
from
the
the other
battleground
side.
range, I don't mind.
Can this guy see me? Let's find out. Nope, I'm out of his arc. Okay. How about these guys? Yeah, they can see me too. Okay, so this is a really crappy plan. It's a horrible place to put it. So
Stay
now
there.
I want to move the vampire back, and I could go up here and I could hit undo like 4 or 5 times to move the vampire back, but instead I could just come down here and click the unit marker that I dropped on him, and you see it makes him glow. Click that once, and it puts him right back where he started. So I don't have to keep hitting undo to move him back after realizing I was doing something dumb. So that's a nice little time saver for folks. If you like to try out moves and you get in there and you move it around 5 or 6 times and you're like, ah, crap, this is never going to work. Never mind, this is dumb. If you dropped a marker, then instead of having to hit undo a bunch of times, you can just press the marker and bring your unit right back. Now I'm going to go through and turn off all these corners because I don't really need them because I don't care. We're just done. We're just playing dominate here. We're going straight forward. I don't care. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Flank me if you want. I don't care.
Maga's pointed out in the chat. Did we point out use the middle mouse when you're zoomed to scroll the map?
Yep.
So yeah, you can use the middle token, middle button, or shift, isn't it?
Or shift. Yep, shift or the middle if you have a middle mouse wheel button. All right, so clunk, clunk, clunk. Soul Reaver's up in the woods. Clunk, 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 clunk. There we go.
Conservative undead. I love it. I guess the other point out is maybe look at the additional unit. So how you can clone a unit. Yeah,
sure. So let's say I'm not in charge range over here, but let me see, just for the sake of argument, let me pull up my Wraith troop here and assume that like I want to try to do some surge shenanigans with them. So let's just add another Wraith troop here. Cool. And I can just drag that right over here and turn it and move it. All right, I can't go that far. I can go 7. There we go. There's as far as I can go. 7 inches. Clunk. And then I can pivot again. And then, does that put me in your flank? Let's find out. Let's go over here and add your corners. That does not put me in your flank. I can zoom all the way in. I can turn on my corners. I can see exactly where my leader point is. I don't have to guess. There's my leader point. There's your corner. I'm still in your front. So if I made this long surge, it would still be in the front. So we don't have to sit here and eyeball things or measure them. It's just a click of a couple of buttons, and there you go. And my original unit is still right back here where it was. I don't have to worry about if I'd forgotten to mark it, clicking to put it back. I can just get rid of it. And then I can come in here and I can turn off your arcs because I don't need to see them anymore either. So let me go ahead and finish up my movement. Once again, just selecting multiple units because I can do that, and then just pressing up to move them straight forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I'm undead and we're slow. And sure, let's just go ahead and just move the vampire up there. And if I click on the I can mark all, geez, I just marked everything, didn't I? There we go. Turn them all off. So I guess if you want to mark everything and you have nothing selected and you hit the marker button, you mark all the units, but then you hit it again and it takes them all away. So that's kind of cool. Ooh, I wonder if you can mark multiple units at a time. Let me try that real quick right now. Yes, I can.
I mean, there is a lot of trial by fire on this, isn't there? There's a lot of like, can I do this? Which makes a massive difference.
But there it is.
You talked about we've talked about the undo and redo, haven't we, on the unit there?
Yep.
The other little interesting thing is bottom right hand corner when you select a unit, it actually tells you the degrees so that the unit is actually situated at. So
your soul flares over there.
No more of this kind of what degrees are your guys at, so I can marry them up so that it can look nice and neat when we push them in. Done.
So I think I'm done. I think I'm done moving. So over to you for turn 2. Still no turn counter, I guess. We still have to have turn counters.
I mean, we could. Well, it's turn 2, isn't it? We could remove the turn counters if we wanted to, and put in one of the little chats things there. Yeah. I suppose the other little things. I'm operating on a browser on here because just the way it's set up for me. Some of the things that were a little bit awkward when you were using a browser is the save copy chat to clipboard, and also saving your games. They're still going to be able to do on a browser. So that's now again a little bit of a it's just a quality of life thing, isn't it? So you don't no longer have to have the game. You can just use the browser when playing. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to kind of cover on the various additional updates on there.
Well, let's go through. So let me see. We've talked about label names, axis movement locks the same as it was. We've shown people that you can draw and erase. Magnetic snap. We showed people magnetic snap. That's probably just
Magnetic snap refers
Yeah.
to when you're using a movement tray, using multiple little models. So
sure.
sometimes you're maneuvering the unit into different formation, which is for a game that no longer gets supported by any miniatures company, and
Sure.
for good reason.
Uh,
But yeah,
Yep. So there are also hotkeys to bring up all of the different arcs of sight. So the corners, the circle.
Mhm.
So if you want to see that, you can just hit C to bring up the corners, or Alt C to bring up a 12-inch circle all the way around your unit, instead of going in there to.
Yeah, you might find
Uh,
you using the hotkeys a lot because you can do everything. So you can use D to bring up dice, spacebar, then allows you to then double tap on a spacebar. You can change the number of dice, so you can just do that quicker. I think you're talking about cognitive load, aren't you, when you're talking about
Yeah.
developers and just being in a position where making something a little bit easier so you don't have to do more clicks is good.
Yep. Every little bit helps. So let me see. Yeah, we've shown the new and improved undo and redo. We've showed wounds tracking. You just hit the plus and minus. We've showed the different position markers, which are pretty cool, to snap back after you've moved instead of having to hit undo over and over again. We've showed the clocks. We showed how to add notes on the table dynamically, so you don't have to have pre-done markers for every spell or every condition. You can just add them, and again, that's just hit T for tools to bring up the tools, or you can pin it and just leave it open if you know you're going to be doing a lot, and just stick it down here and add one. Click down here. There's got to be a hotkey for that.
There's I for info. There you go.
I for info, sure.
I suppose what we could talk about is possibly more the kind of like the pre-game. So we talk about the miniatures and the scenery. There are some additional scenery items put into there. Plus, also there is an easier way of creating miniatures, some of which I didn't know and may have still been in the previous one, but other stuff they do. So I don't know if you want to bring up, if you click into the army and then maybe look at changing army, and we'll look at maybe altering some units. If we want to quickly cover that. So, I don't know, click onto something of your scummy undead, maybe.
Sure, anything. There we go.
So the first thing you'll notice on the left-hand side is the color chart. So you can change your base to pretty much any color you want. There's no kind of limit of 8 colors that there were before. You can go for a off-green, crazy silvery color, anything. And that's kind of replicated when you actually click on the individual pieces. So you can click on an individual piece, and then you can change all the colors. So you can change the color for all the unit. The thing that I don't know if it did exist before, but possibly did. If you click back on the unit itself, you can. So one of the wolfhounds that you've got there, the death pack, and the right-hand arrow is just above the color wheel. You can select other elements to be colored on that unit. I don't know if that was there before.
That was there before, but it was also, I think, stuck to a set number of colors, and now you've got the full color wheel here to work with. So that's nice.
Yeah. And this also kind of comes back into that kind of like being able to share save files. So you could save an army with your units, etc., and then share that with somebody else if you wanted to. So that could be a case of, this is the army set up. I can send it over to you, so you don't even have to load it up. It could be a case of you want to save it again in a folder somewhere, so it's all nice in one place, and then you can bring it up whenever you need it to.
Yep.
I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't know if there is that much else for it. I mean, I could go into a little bit of explanation on the play-by-email games. I think that could possibly be something, but maybe that's something for another day.
Possibly. I mean, I think we showed people lots of different things, and it's going to be the sort of thing where, every time you play, like, try to think of 1 or 2 new things to do, and then your next game, like, okay, before I get into it, let me open up the hotkey menu, pick like 1 or 2 more things to try to remember to do this game, and just kind of build, over the course of a few games, a little bit of muscle memory on some of these enhancements. to kind of help streamline your play a little bit.
Yeah, overall, I'm just a little bit of extra upgrade that it just makes this game a little bit more enjoyable. I've really liked a lot of the upgrades. So again, a shout out to Lorenzo, who's put this all together. It's all really good stuff. But apologies to all those people who play on mobile devices because they don't get as much. But that's maybe something for the future.
As of yet, I'm just going to put some zombies back, and it's just going to be a zombie apocalypse. I'm just going to keep pressing plus to just add more and more zombies.
Is that how you win games, Mike? Is it you just literally just turn up and go, oh, I've got this many zombie units? How many points is that?
I'm still playing a version of this game where you can actually raise undead units. I'm going super duper old school. Things are going badly. Just start adding some more zombies. Just summon some more zombie units. I'm pretty excited about these. I don't know that I'll play with the grid on all the time, but I do kind of like it for deployment so that you can easily see how far apart your units are, so you can kind of be a little sneakier about how you're going to deploy and make sure you still left a plausible amount of space between units so that your opponent isn't sure where you're going to drop things, but you're certain that they'll still fit. I love being able to select a unit and then just hover over other units to see how far away they are at a glance. That's great. I like the selecting units and holding down shift, and they'll only turn exactly 45 degrees. That's great for I want to turn the unit all the way around. I don't have to fidget with trying to get it exactly 180. And the arrow keys to move exactly 1 inch. That for times when reforming after combat, I need to back up 2 inches. Pop, done. You don't have to measure it to slide it. A lot of little streamlining things that I think once people get used to using them is going to make the overall experience a lot more pleasant and feel a lot less cumbersome. So two thumbs up. Big shout out to the developers here for making this a much more useful tool for us. Yeah, it's great.
Smooth. Now I've just got to stop playing this and play in reality, right? But
well.
We can have both. We can have both. Yeah.
We can do both. I've got a game tonight. There's a GT coming up in just a couple of weeks up in Philly that I'm going to go to, which is going to be great.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got the call to arms that are going on.
We've got,
obviously, this is important because I'm close to the top, number 2. Just so important.
Absolutely. We've got next Wednesday. We're going to have Chris Fisher playing Justin Berg on Wednesday, 6:45 my time, maybe a little late for you. And we're working on lining up maybe 1 or 2 more matches here in the 5th round. And then, of course, in the 6th round, we'll likely be bringing you top table and maybe the top 1, 2, or 3 kind of tables, depending on how things shake out. So we'll see who's there when things roll around. So I think
when you get Sweaty Gigante back on as well, I mean, it's obviously a bit tricky with people committing to that a whole day, but it'd be good to have that again. I'm looking forward to a full tournament.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, it was a little too. It was just hard to get people this year, I think. We'll see. Maybe next year they can bring that back. That's a good time.
Easter break, maybe do it on that. Maybe do it on one of those days. Talk to Jesse. Maybe. Let's see what he do.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. So I think that's about it. Hopefully, you've found this enjoyable. This little walk through some of the new features. Hopefully, we've showed you, where the buttons are, and for the hotkeys, we've at least said what we're pressing to make things happen, so that you know what to do, and you've jotted down some takeaways or made some mental notes of things you're going to try in your next game. I'm excited to try out playing on UB with this new version. You can get it off of their website. It's not listed as a separate version or anything. You just go download the main version off the site, or play in a browser, and it'll have all these advancements. Again, it's not available on mobile apps yet, but they're working on it.
It is available, just all the functions aren't available.
All the functions aren't available. Sure.
That's it. But that might come in the future. But yeah, nice and easy.
Great. All right. So thanks for watching, folks. Till next time, I'm your host, Mike Atkins, saying you stay safe out there. Thanks to John for coming and hanging out with me and helping me find all these fun new things that we can do in Universal Battle. And until next time, we will. I already did my thing, didn't I? Yeah, I said you stay safe out there. But anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, right? And it bears saying again. And we'll see you next time on Dash 28 Live. Bye, everybody.
Bye.